Okay, Javier Farfan, NFL.
Culture marketing.
Yeah, I call myself a cultural strategist. Within the NFL, I work for their global consumer and branding marketing department under the leadership of Marissa Solis.
Okay. So did you always know you wanted to do marketing, like since you were little?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Did not know anything about business, and I got into a psychology program and graduated with that. And I got into a PhD program at Columbia University in psychology. And I thought I was going to go down that route, entrepreneurship during the evenings. And I started a long time ago, before the internet, all that stuff. We started a magazine, a hip hop magazine. And that was my entree to the world of entertainment, culture, and marketing, because I became the marketing guy. I needed to promote that there was a magazine or get sponsors to sponsor or advertise in the magazine. So I kind of learned as I went. And then I went into consulting and banking. But I quickly was trying to figure out, how do I get into a marketing role? And I went back to business school. I got an executive MBA at NYU. And I focused on finance because it was NYU, and I wanted to show that I had an analytical side to me. But I worked on trying to get a marketing role, and I did not get it. I landed at Viacom doing business development. But a lot of the work that I do there was helping them think about new lines of business, and marketing was always an aspect of that. And one of my final projects as a business development person was to launch a TV channel, a new TV channel, which got me into the multicultural space, which was called MTV3 for the Latino consumer. And then I became the researcher, the integrated marketer, and the consumer marketer for that particular brand. And then I guess I became a marketer.
The number of people that I speak with who say they studied psychology is crazy.
Yeah.
But it makes sense, because there's a lot of psychology that goes into the science of marketing.
Yeah, 100%. Everything is about consumers, right? So you have to understand the insight that drives the creative thinking, or wherever you want the messaging to go. It's going to create the demand and motivation behind that.
So would you say that there was, and you might have already mentioned it, like a pivotal moment or a campaign that really pushed your career forward?
I think the MTV thing actually pushed me forward, because that allowed me to really grab all the skill sets that I learned from my prior experiences and really focus it. As a consultant, you have to figure out, what are the assumptions, what are you trying to build, what's the business plan behind that. And launching that product was amazing to me, because I was able to raise money through advertising, help me build partnerships with a ton of people. And through that relationship, I built a partnership with Microsoft, and that was my second job. My claim to fame there was just launching all these streaming services in the music space and streaming services on the TV space, that I really learned the idea of where the evolution of entertainment and marketing was coming from. And when I was recruited from there to go to PepsiCo, and then I had a ton of campaigns that I was a part of or I supported in some capacity, from getting Beyonce to be part of the halftime show many, many moons ago, to working with Eminem on a commercial for Bravo, to doing a Hispanic-specific campaign to launch the new brand at that time. Had a ton of experiences that were helpful for me to get my next engagement and to continue my career in marketing now.
So I'm sure this comes to no surprise. You have like the dream job of a lot of people. So
a lot of people say that, yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious about, like, for people who are interested in your type of job, can you talk about a typical campaign and what the process of that looks like, from what I'm looking for, from idea to execution? What's that process like?
Yeah, it's a very simple process. Like, there's a point in time in any cycle of business, including the NFL, all the way to all the brands I mentioned, that they're making some decisions on where the business is going. And there's metrics that drive that business, right? So if it's, soda, it's about how much volume we can increase and how much share we can take from our competitor. If it's here, is how many fans are we going to grow, how we're going to keep our perception high when it comes to this brand, and kind of the things that we're doing. We define those as a collective unit, really driven by kind of what are the metrics of revenue or success for that business. And then we use that as a way to start thinking about creatively how we're going to attack that for that year. So I deal with a ton of people to get that information. Then I sit down with a bunch of people to kind of figure out what other strategies are going to allow us to do that. And from that moment in time, we start thinking about who are going to be our partners to execute that, or what are going to be the tactics that we're going to use we're going to use to go after that. So sometimes it's not a TV ad. Sometimes it's a social media campaign, or it's an activation, or it's a product launch. And then a bunch of different people come together to actually make that thing happen. So I'm usually part of that stage, leading that stage. And then when we get into execution mode, then I hand that over to creative agencies, product development people, consumer product people, our events people that do activations, and work closely with them to make sure that it's addressing the goals that we need, and that it's also being culturally relevant to the audiences that we're going after, and kind of ride that journey until the thing is out there.
Right on. Yeah. So, and you're also a professor, which is phenomenal. Yes. We don't get a lot of people in the industry who also teach. What advice do you give your students?
I actually have this rubric that I always start my class with, especially in the world of entertainment, culture, and marketing, that are very, they're competencies versus like hard skills. And they're in statements, right? And I put it up in front of them, and they're like, okay, what does this have to do with producing a movie or creating a commercial? And I was like, don't worry about it. Just remember them, because as we go through this journey in my class, you will figure out why they're important. And then I have them meet with people in the industry, and then you start seeing those characteristics that people are looking for. One of them is like, leaning into doing. Right? Like a ton of folks, a ton of young people think just because they went through their 4 years, there's a certain amount of, I guess, things that they don't have to do. They have to do the hard work first. I think that's important. I think, you're always building your network, especially in this world, you have to build your network. I think that jumping into any role in marketing is important. Because I think there's a lot of transferable skills across all of them, but understanding how all those things fit is actually going to make you a better, more well-rounded person as you're thinking about your career in the future. So don't limit yourself to the things that you want, because look at my journey. My journey was very not, like a linear kind of journey. And I would say, don't forget your instincts. I think at least in the marketing side, people lean in to be safe on the analytical side, but it is, a right brain, left brain kind of process. And you have to, be okay with understanding your instincts, understanding your truth and your power, and leaning into that and providing that into whatever creation that we're building. Because I look to young people to give me perspective.